very good evening to you all and welcome to News Tonight here on UBC TV. The second and final edition of the bulletin this Tuesday, the 7th day of January 2025. We're coming to you live online and on air from Broadcasting House here on Nile Avenue. On sign language, it is Senyamo Yusuf and I am Rukidi Edward Kijana Ngoma. Now, the NRM Secretariat has handed over the newly digitalized party register to party chairman Yoweri Museveni during a closed-door meeting held on Monday, January 6, 2025, at his countryside home in Rwachtura. The president, who received the copy from Secretary General Richard Todwong, is optimistic that this new development is a significant step toward a free and fair internal election process. We have more in the following story.
The NRM Secretariat top management held a closed-door interaction on Monday, January 6th, 2025 with the party chairman, President Yoweri Museveni.
The purpose of this meeting was to brief the national chairman of the outcome of the NRM member digitization exercise, which we concluded around 20th December. We now have an interim report, which the Central Executive Committee is going to discuss.
Emmanuel Dombo, the director in charge of communications in the NRM party, was among the top management delegation that visited Rwachtura, the president's home.
But the national chairman has been fully briefed about how the exercise was conducted and what the outcome has been.
The party chairman was also briefed about the proposed NRM electoral roadmap.
Also had an opportunity to discuss with the national chairman the proposed NRM roadmap, which is in conformity to the planned activities of the party following the National Independent Electoral Roadmap. And also the national chairman concurred and he promised to convene the Central Executive Committee so that he can inform them and also require the Secretary General to lay the report before the members of the Central Executive Committee so that they can discuss and come up with a final roadmap.
In a two-page post on his official X handle, President Museveni has rallied all party supporters to embrace the nationwide Electoral Commission exercise for voter register updates and verification.
Like you saw this morning, the national chairman has issued a press statement calling on the members of NRM, one, to ensure that they participate in the electoral activities.
Museveni has appealed to all eligible voters, those over 18 years of age, to pay attention to this exercise, noting that it will be a cornerstone in preparing for the party's internal elections and in solidifying the foundation for the general elections.
We're going to begin with updating of the register. There is going to be civic education, and there will be a requirement for them to comply with the law so that they become responsible citizens.
According to the party secretariat, the newly digitalized party register contains details of 18 million party supporters.
We have on our register 18,009,389 members, as you can see from the register.
Robert Nyank, UBC News.
Now, the First Lady and Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, has called on Ugandan youth to embrace God's goodness and lead by example. She emphasized that God has his own timing and now is his season to transform how Ugandans and Africans conduct their affairs.
Drawing parallels to the 400 years the Israelis spent in Egyptian bondage, Mrs. Museveni spoke about God's infinite patience and stressed that now is God's appointed time for Uganda.
is let all of us, young and old, let us look for God's instruction to do good, because I believe in my spirit that it is time, now is the time for Uganda or Africa to rise up and let God be our game changer. That Uganda may lead in really showing the goodness of God, making a difference in our villages, in our schools, and all this must begin in our homes.
She noted that despite Africa's abundant natural resources and favorable climate, its people have disappointed God by allowing children to suffer from malnutrition and drop out of school due to lack of food. She pointed out that Africa has the world's highest concentration of impoverished children.
Abaana bakulira omu maka agateine ebyokulya baine mindset egyo eryaguma nabo nibagenda nibamanya ngu amasiko gaabo gari omu gavumenti konka tigari haribo tibakumanya ngu baine kukora is dependent on them to work hard to live a decent life. Ekyo n'ekintu eki tutari kushomesa abaana baitu nk'abazaire for generations. Bakishoma baheza babura kutunga emirimo omu gavumenti aha muheru bakihurira ngu Iraq hariyo emirimo ey'oburinzi y'okurinda amaka g'abantu baronda okubaraza Iraq ninga ihanga erindi erine emirimo nk'egyo basigaho ente z'abaaha omu families basigaho amataka g'abazaire b'abaaha basigaho entookye zibuzire kikora z'abazaire.
The First Lady, who reminded the youth that the fear of God is the foundation of wisdom and knowledge, urged each of them to embrace God, relate whatever they do with God the Creator, and practically walk with Him in their life's journey so as to overcome any burdens or challenges and become victorious.
Therefore, it is time Africans and Ugandan youth learned to practice their knowledge of God, and also they must begin to learn to work at home, not wait for a government job. You must become confident that one does not have to be corrupt in government, and girls do not have to sell themselves to old men who have money.
You have been our intercessor. We thank you and we glorify God for you. Ahabukubihanga rukutina rahanga nubwo businge n'entunguka iturukureba.
Ebiterane by'eminyeto bwa hati ekineke 14 okwihoborebereza obuntu butandika n'ebindi bingi ebitukusimira nkaitu nkoboreberezi emutwatsize.
Over 250 youth were saved during the event. Reporting for UBC, Baguma William.
Thanks, Baguma William, for that story there. Now, the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries has held a media engagement with journalists in preparation for the forthcoming African Union Extraordinary Summit. The engagement aimed to foster collaboration and ensure accurate reporting of the proceedings and outcomes of the summit. This engagement took place at Uganda Media Center in Kampala. We have more.
The summit, scheduled for January 9th to 11th, 2025, will bring together African leaders to discuss agricultural modernization and food security, among other critical issues. The Ministry of Agriculture has engaged with media practitioners to familiarize them with the topics and expectations for media coverage.
To the point, and even under this comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, inclusiveness is a key intervention area.
Stephen Biantwari Tibijuka, who represented the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, emphasized the crucial role the media will play in the upcoming African Union Extraordinary Summit.
And gentlemen, this is not a project. as I highlighted earlier, the heads of state of the African Union sat together and said, how do we address issues related to food security, to production and productivity, inter-Africa trade, resilience to climate shocks, and the like, and agreed on a strategy and roadmap. And this was in 2003.
The country director of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, David Wazomba, reaffirmed AGRA's commitment to the summit.
We're supporting the government, and we're pushing, if you want to hear that the government allocates the right resources in the areas that will deliver the impact.
The African Union Extraordinary Summit aims to transform agri-food systems, promote sustainable agriculture, enhance food security, and drive economic growth. Cayenne Faith, Jen Nyiramugisha for UBC.
Now, the government, through the national budget, has invested in the parish development model, PDM, to foster growth and development in the agriculture sector. However, members of Parliament have expressed disappointment with the limited allocations to the agriculture sector, contrary to the commitment made by African Union member states in the Maputo Declaration, which called for 10% of national budgets to be allocated to agriculture.
Uganda will host an extraordinary summit of the African Union Assembly of Heads of State and Government to deliberate on the post-Malabo Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program agenda. The summit will focus on the draft 10-year Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program Strategy and Action Plan, as well as the development of the Kampala Declaration on Advancing Africa's Inclusive Agri-Food Systems. This follows the 37th ordinary session of the African Union Assembly in February 2024, where heads of state and government expressed concern that the continent did not meet the Malabo Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program goals and targets set for 2025, which included eradicating hunger and reducing malnutrition. As a signatory to the Maputo Declaration, Uganda's members of parliament have differing views on the 10% target for agriculture sector allocation.
So I think the government's approach towards that 10% is that you should not necessarily look at the allocation, but look at what areas they have done to be able to support the agriculture sector. If they put money into processing facilities within the agricultural areas.
72 trillion in this financial year. 15% of 72 trillion is certainly more than 10 trillion shillings. But when you look at what we have allocated to the agricultural sector, it is not. Now, there have been some explanations by the government that the agricultural sector does not stand on its own. There are some enablers. For example, if you put money in water for production, that is also a direct contribution to agriculture.
At the moment, if I'm to base myself on the current budget that we are running, agriculture takes about 3.5% only. That means that we are still way below the Maputo Declaration.
In that case, we've not even reached 4% as a country. Every financial year we keep on reducing. So I think we still have a big challenge when it comes to realizing the Maputo Declaration, which all African countries agreed to.
2024, 2025. I don't remember the specific figures, but we allocated, I think, about 1.3, 1.4 trillion to the agriculture sector, all of it, which was about 1.something%, not even 2%. There was a time when we were doing 3%, we have now reduced.
The Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program aims for 6% annual growth rate in the agriculture sector.
Africa, most of the African countries project to grow at about 4 to about 7%, if you see the projections from the World Bank. that means that the total contribution of growth is picked directly from agriculture. But not all countries are involved in agriculture. Even here in Uganda, agriculture is, although it supports majority of the population, but it's declining in terms of its contribution to the GDP.
Eventually, the money that goes to a farmer in terms of research, in terms of agriculture inputs, is very little. So we will stay there until maybe some so-called investors have come here and they are the ones who are removing people from subsistence farming, maybe to industry.
The program also focuses on increasing food security and nutrition while reducing rural poverty among member states.
You cannot rely on a hand-hold to ensure that people have enough food.
The country, we are still safe, food secure, but there are still vulnerable communities within the country in certain areas which have challenges in terms of the fertility of the soil.
Food security, this money would have helped people to reduce on the hunger and famine. But now we are still depending on the nature. If the rains come, then well and good.
Look at the statistics from the health sector. There is still a lot of malnutrition. You look at the statistics from Karamoja, there are a lot of people who are suffering, they lack food. So you can say that this country is not adequately food secure.
The budget framework paper, if you read the report of the population census, we are a country that is still food insecure, high percentage of the population. But there are no corresponding figures in the budget to begin addressing that.
Members of Parliament have highlighted challenges affecting food security, including climate change, reliance on hose, and a lack of investment in water for production and fertilizers. Some MPs have applauded the government's investment in the parish development model and its funding of other areas that support agriculture.
The ministry says that if they have done connectivity roads to link the agriculture production to the market, that budget is essentially part of agriculture.
Improve on food security. Let's avail this startup money, capital, the MIOGA, the PDM, but also let's invest in water for production.
The extraordinary session of the Assembly will specifically endorse the draft Kampala Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program Declaration, which outlines a vision for transforming Africa's agri-food systems for 2026 to 2035. I'm Nafka Farida and Gloria Gwitabinji in Kampala.
Meanwhile, as the continent anxiously awaits the summit on food security and agriculture, African leaders are being urged to come together and agree on common fishing methods. Now, this appeal comes in the wake of increased cases of illegal fishing across shared water bodies in East Africa and beyond. In view of this, Uganda's State Minister for Fisheries, Helen Adoa, wants African leaders to extensively discuss and reach an agreement on this issue during the upcoming Extraordinary Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program (CADAP) Summit, which is scheduled to take place in Kampala, Uganda.
In East Africa, for example, Lake Victoria is shared by Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania. On the other hand, Lake Albert and Lake Edward are shared between Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Across all these water bodies, fishing is the primary economic activity, which underscores the need to regulate the practice.
Because of their population, they cannot easily be controlled the way you can control Ugandans. So, but also, it depends on the priorities. Like us in Uganda, fishing activities actually employ so many other people, youth and women.
The requirement for regulating the practice is aimed at protecting the fisheries species for nutrition and commercial purposes.
If we don't have one common fishing method, the other ones can destroy what God has given us. And yet that's our treasure. Fisheries is one of the key aspects now on food nutrition, but also food security.
Minister Adoa's concerns are being addressed in the upcoming African Union Summit on Agriculture, Nutrition and Food Security. A side event dedicated to this issue has been scheduled as part of the summit's agenda.
47.3% of farm, pastoral and fish households are resilient to climate and weather-related shocks, and five out of 5 agricultural commodity value chains for which a public-private partnership is established with strong linkage to smallholder agriculture.
We have to continue bringing policies that can bring us together. We have to continue talking to our young people. We have to continue working as one government so that we can be able to work together and bring the best and sustain our fisheries so that we get not only foreign exchange but also nutrition and employment.
Fish is the second largest foreign exchange earner for Uganda after coffee, which is why it is crucial for other African countries to protect this resource. Henry Okrut, UBC.
We'll now take a short break, but we'll be returning with much more. Do stay with us.
Here's your chance to win school fees for your child for a whole year. Just pay school fees using Momo. Dial *165 *80 hash. Select option 2 for school pay. Select option 1 to pay school fees. Enter the student number and amount and approve the transaction. You are now entered a draw to win school fees.
Uganda will host the African Union Extraordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government from the 9th to the 11th January 2025 at the Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort and Convention Center. The summit will consider and adopt the new Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CADIP framework, and sign the Kampala Declaration to run for the next 10 years. The CADIP Kampala 2025 Summit will unite over 2,000 delegates, including government leaders, private sector and stakeholders, under the theme, Building Resilient Agri-Food Systems in Africa.
Mala ngenze mbonipa Sam anazanya Ruto nganyiga star 278 then hash ujja kuba ng'oyingidde mu kazannyo nga sente zino zimula wano zina wangula zino wano milioni 10.86 ebintu bino nasooka biraba ku TV nange saasooka kikiriza ninga mulaye kino kiyinza okuba nga kituufu oba yaddala tibya bufere sente zo nazifunye zo nazikoze eki naziwangudde amasanyu nyina mangi ebyoto byange byembadde njagala ngenda bituukiriza.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win. Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Ituba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Welcome back from that break, and this is News Tonight here on UBC TV. A warm welcome to those of you just joining us. Now, members of Parliament sitting on the Budget Committee have called upon government to consider regional balance in the National Development Plan 4. Now, the MPs base on the loopholes in the implementation of the past and the current NDP3, which has left many areas underdeveloped. Some members of Parliament stress prioritizing tourism areas to enhance revenue by targeting visitors from high-end countries. Daniel Mugoya reports.
Parliament
through the Committee of Budget, is scrutinizing the menu contained in the proposed National Development Plan 4, which aims at achieving higher household incomes and employment for socio-economic transformation.
So we invited the Minister of Finance.
The plan is premised on the theme, Sustainable Industrialization for Inclusive Growth, Employment and Wealth Creation to achieve higher household incomes and employment in the next 5 years. The Minister of State for Planning, Amos Lugorobi, was in the Budget Committee to defend the government strategies. The MPs critiqued Minister Lugorobi over the implementation of the past development plans, including the current NDP 3 that ends in June 2025.
Under NDP 3, we really got nothing. Under NDP 4, I don't know what we are looking at when it comes to the fishing community. Do you have a deliberate policy to move us from the fish hunting to fish rearing, and then value addition? But aligning this plan with the manifesto of the ruling government and then the national budget, the annual budget, is something that we must reconcile properly. Mr. Chairman, sometimes there are projects that appear in the manifesto, but you cannot trace them in the plan.
Government seeks to increase its tarmac road network in the next 5 years, especially with the concentration on the areas where productivity can be boosted. This is consolidated under the Integrated Transport Infrastructure and Services, but this caused mixed reactions.
And some of the reasons, Mr. Chairman, are because of the poor infrastructure we have in Uganda. It is unlikely that you have a tourist come to Uganda and drive for over 10 hours to the parks. That tourist would prefer going to Rwanda and use probably Rwanda Air for about 30 minutes, or use those small airports that they have in Tanzania, and Uganda will have the spillover of these small tourists, but not those high-end ones that are going to bring for us like 2,000, spend 2,000 and above.
How do you on earth have this plan for 5 years without a new road being tarmacked in Bukomansimbi, in Lwengo, in Chotera, in Kalungu? That the road from Chabakuza through the home of the first prime minister of this republic is like a cloud. That small corridor there produces the biggest quantity of coffee in this country. And it's just barely 40 kilometers.
But you know, as you plan, you must know that there is, as you have heard the minister say, there is always a scarcity. So you have to do choices and prioritize how to fit in. But over time, by 2040, all must be done. That's the plan which is on.
Nevertheless, the MPs ask that government sticks to its plans amid scarcity of resources which come along the way. But Minister Lugorobi reminded the MPs of the policy to review the plan after 2.5 years. The committee also wanted to understand how the 5-year plan will be implemented on ground, that the country is to hold elections in 2026. Minister Lugorobi answered in the affirmative.
But Mr. Chairman, we have also encouraged the political parties because we don't know which party is going to win.
Yeah, there are many parties.
We as planners, we don't know which party will win. Now, we do a national development plan. Now, we ask the parties to align themselves to the plan as they develop their manifestos. Honorable colleagues.
Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Gutabinji, UBC News.
The government of Uganda has initiated the process of developing a concept for acceptable national values aimed at promoting morality and patriotism. Minister of State for National Guidance, Godfrey Kabyanga, highlighted that the National Values Task Force will play a critical role in consulting stakeholders to draft these values. Ivan Kahwa reports.
State Minister for National Guidance, Godfrey Kabyanga, has officially launched the Technical National Values Task Force,
which is tasked with developing a comprehensive set of national values and objectives. During the retreat to inaugurate the task force, the minister emphasized that these values will help shape society's perspective and foster collective aspirations.
What our beliefs as Ugandans that can really unite, can inspire us to work hard, and can make us proud of being Ugandans.
The task force includes members from the key government ministries, departments and agencies who have been specifically selected to draft values focused on promoting selflessness and national harmony.
The public, we shall sample from the public, and then we say this is what we think should be our national values, and we hear what they say. They can add, they can subtract, they can modify, and then later we are going to produce a paper, and then we are going to see how we do the implementation and the dissemination of those national values.
The values will be inclusive and considerate of the diverse beliefs and perspectives within the nation.
When we talk about objective number 29, where they say that it's the duty of every citizen to be patriotic, to participate in the development of the society, to do correct parenthood, we can pick from those areas and say, okay, now in this area, what is it that now which can apply to everybody? Then at the end of the day, we shall make necessary consultations. When we agree, then we say, yes, these are our values.
This marks the initial stage of the process, with plans to engage all relevant stakeholders and conduct extensive research to support the development of these values. Lydia Chomkama and Ivan Kawa.
Very clear.
Now, Rotary International President Dr. Stephanie Urchik has paid a courtesy visit to the Katikkiro of Buganda, Charles Peter Mayiga, during her historic African tour. Now, this visit, which marked Uganda as the first stop on her itinerary, celebrated the country's significant contributions to Rotary's mission globally.
Speaking during the visit, the Katikkiro commended Rotary's transformative impact on Ugandan communities.
Out of which one doesn't expect any reward. Well, of course there is a reward. You are happy, you know, but I'm talking about monetary reward or something you don't expect anything from which you are going to benefit materially. Now, that's fascinating because that's not how the world works today. And especially for people like you who come from the US. You know, capitalism is about profit, isn't it? And profits is what you earn after some exercise. Now, Rotarians are not like that at all. They got the villages and they do the most amazing work with people who they will never meet again.
Katikkiro Charles Peter Mayiga highlighted the commitment of Rotary in eradicating polio and supporting communities, which aligns closely with Buganda Kingdom's goals.
And the King instructs us to ensure that the programs we carry out address the plight or even the concerns of the ordinary people. The governor before her, I don't think he's here, Governor Kakembo, his theme was the boy child. Because in the past few years, a lot of emphasis has been placed on the girl child. And what has happened is that the young boys don't have, you know, father figures to emulate. And we decided to work with Rotary on that theme because the Queen, our Queen, is concerned with the nurturing of youngsters.
Dr. Wichik expressed admiration for Uganda's vibrant Rotary community, highlighting the need to sustain and grow Rotary's legacy.
Because by ourselves as an organization, we can get some things done. But when we partner with others, that's when our true abilities really shine. And so thank you so much for partnering with Rotary to help make the communities better. This community has a gift. This country has a gift because Rotary is here.
The visit celebrates Uganda's role in Rotary's global mission while inspiring continued efforts to transform lives through service. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
Now, National Forestry Authority has halted the land procurement process by Kampala Capital City Authority, KCCA, meant for waste management in the city. Now, with the process at its tail end, the National Forestry Authority says the land procured is in a forest reserve and therefore the title should be cancelled by Uganda Land Commission. Now, this has created a rift between the two authorities and the owner of the land. Kampala Capital City Authority acquired a 230-acre piece of land in Naziri Buyale Muduma Maokota in Mpigi district to help alleviate the issue of waste generated in the city. Our reporter Justin Nakami has been closely following the events surrounding the transactions of the land in question and filed the following special report.
Following the collapse of the Chitezi landfill, which claimed lives of many innocent Ugandans, Kampala remained with no dump site, hence worsening the challenge of waste management in the city. The President issued a directive to Kampala Capital City Authority to procure land for the establishment of a new dump site to manage the looming sanitation challenge. Following this directive, KCCA advertised in search for over 200 acres of land, and the highest bidder, whose identity is held confidentially, won the bidding process to sell land to KCCA.
Now, in order for us not to repeat what happened at Kitezi, we wanted to get a sizable sanitary landfill. So we get a landfill and make sure it has got a buffer zone around it of 500 meters, which shall be free of human habitation.
According to the owner of the land, whom we preferred name X, with the process at its tail end, with evidence of transparency in procurement, surveying the land for dumping, and all legal land titles and documentation processes made, the National Forestry Authority has halted the final stages of KCCA procuring this particular land in Wiyala. The biggest questions at play is, why is National Forestry Authority coming out now? The controversy revolves around the 230 acres of land claimed to be within the forest reserve. The National Forestry Authority maintains that the land falls under government protection, making it non-transferable. However, KCCA insists it followed the due process in procuring the land for waste management, while the private landowner demands payment for what the asset is legally theirs. The National Forestry Authority argues that the land being in a forest reserve cannot be sold, citing technicalities on how government cannot buy land from itself. According to NFA, KCCA should instead receive a portion of land free of charge from the authority on condition that it compensates the individual who has been licensed to plant trees on it. However, questions arise about who is the tree planter. The position of National Forest Authority still raises more questions about its whereabouts at the bidding stage and whether it has the powers to donate land. These questions leaves a lot to be desired on whether the proposed NFA donation doesn't contradict the presidential directive to procure land. And confirmed sources hold the view that the tree planter is suspected to be one of the directors of the National Forestry Authority. If true, this raises serious ethical questions about conflict of interest and transparency. According to the bidder, the procurement was done with due diligence, with a survey of the land taking over 200 days and given a go-ahead to purchase the land, having gone through the evaluation stage and confirmation from the Ministry of Lands. KCCA has then been dumping on this land as construction of roads take shape to have the site fully prepared amidst the rift with the National Forestry Authority. So far, there are new developments from the Office of the Executive Director for Acquisition of Land in Butobubuma Central Forest Reserve. A letter addressed to the ED, National Forest Authority, showed that the said plots are outside the Central Forest Reserve. We will bring you this in our next report. Justine Nakami reporting.
Interesting development there. Now, parents from Ongogoja Sub-County, Katakwi District, have embarked on a collective effort to construct a community school using locally sourced makeshift materials. The idea stemmed from the alarming rise in school dropouts in the area, where many children are forced to trek long distances to attend the nearest schools. Joseph Oko gives us more.
School in every parish to enhance learners' access to education. However, in Katakwi district, people still trek long distances to access education.
So those people who are P5, PC, they go to other primary school like Akumo or Kuda, Bulengorok, and Akwamor. And those schools are very far. They're about 6 to 7 kilometers away from here.
And for me, that's really shocking. It's really a big burden. Because I look at these little children, how can they walk 10 miles? I used to do that when we were young, but the days of today, it should not be. It should be great history.
Children have dropped out of school due to inability to walk long distances to school.
So that's why I find that 3/4 of the population from here are not educated. They are not completely. So development even in this place takes very difficult, because for you to tell somebody something, it becomes a problem.
There is a high dropout rate where parents in the area search for sustainable solutions that could help them establish a community school.
After joining hands, we said, okay, let us have the construction being done by the community. So the chiefs had to come in, LOC1, LOC2, and LOC3. And this school has really done it better, because you can see now the work we have done using our own resources.
However, limited resources seem to have constrained the initiative.
Parents were not all that much positive to pay money for the payment of the teachers. We had to set what we call task force. That task force was headed by the parish chief, whereby we used to move from home to home, looking for money, mobilizing for resources. Each woman has to bring grass, and then each man has to cut a pole and bring the construction of the classes.
Now each village within the sub-county is tasked with constructing a classroom block using locally sourced materials.
This class here is in charge by Akomutukwe village. This one is Abosa village. The other one is Kore, and the other one is Apuriso. So that's how we have given them, so that they can manage easily. To construct, yeah. To give each village a class.
The overseer of the Pentecostal Assemblies of God in Uganda, Bishop Simon Emiau, has pledged a permanent classroom block for the school.
So I have come here with our team from World Renew, a group we work with, and all of us have been involved in this community development. I have a burden for this school. So that's why I have promised to come back here, mobilize, work together with the local LC system, which the LOC2 has agreed. They will be able to mobilize the parents, mobilize the entire community. And we want to talk together and discuss, put our hands together, and at least put a classroom here. My estimate, I have learned that a classroom is about 35 million.
The community appeals to government for support to construct latrines.
We are happy when we see you, because now you are going to expose these things to the world, so that they will see that the situation in Akomutuko is not welcoming.
The support from both local parents and external stakeholders could bridge the educational gap in the remote part of Katakwi district. Oko Joseph, UBC.
Thanks, Joseph Oko, for highlighting that story there. Now, the Chief Administrative Officer, Rwampara District, William Bataringaya, has urged school heads in Rwampara to unite efforts in educating their children rather than competing. This was during a secondary school head teachers and their deputies' 10-day training in educational leadership and management funded by the World Bank under the Uganda Secondary Education Expansion Project. The training at Chinoni Girls Secondary School, Rwampara, was conducted by Uganda Management Institute.
And even there is another concept. I think we need to do more to close that gap. And do with the local government. Like I see a topic on mindset change. Mindset change takes many perspectives. It could be that maybe it is the cow whose mind is in a fixation somewhere, that he does not know the secondary schools also relate with the local government. But we need to bridge that gap.
We'll take yet another short break, but when we do come back, we'll be looking at the latest in business.
This is so much smoke. How you doing? My friends told me about an affordable solution. They're called Greenergy Biostove. Very clean and very safe. Let me call them right away.
Wow, can you believe these beans are ready in just 45 minutes?
Greenergy ethanol stoves and fuel. Enjoy cleaner, healthier and affordable cooking. Cook your food in less than 2,000 shillings per day. No charcoal. Stop deforestation. We are looking for agents across Uganda. Greenergy, Bible Corner.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back. Now let's have a look at business. In a bid to empower businesses and individuals in the financial landscape post-festive season, Absa Bank has launched Joga 2025. Now with this campaign, Absa Bank clients can access salary loans of up to 300 million shillings with no need for collateral security. The launch has been held at the Absa headquarters in Nakasero, Kampala.
We're aware that the recently concluded season, the Christmas season, as you all have celebrated, that a lot has happened and that people have spent. And there's no better time than this, when the year is just beginning, for us to come to that party and make things happen and also see our customers succeed in 2025.
As long as you have a salary with us, as long as you have a regular income with us, as long as you have a relationship, and by relationship I mean account, As long as you have any of those, it will be great excitement, discussion, opportunities for us to ensure that we provide credit for your financial needs. So for us as ABSA, the JOGA 2025 is another exciting opportunity, not to ask necessarily for security, but we want to ensure that we provide those needs as you go, as you require them.
So we also understand that this season here requires a lot of expenditure. Children going back to school, schools opening, some people doing travel, but also businesses beginning the year and preparing for 2025. We are getting into the area of school fees, and yes, JOGA will provide the solution. So the JOGA campaign is geared towards those kind of needs where people now need to boost up their pockets for additional cash to meet their needs. We do salary loans of up to 300 million shillings, and that is unsecured, and I think that's quite attractive for anybody to start the year with their different plans. Now for businesses, we also do unsecured loans of up to 200 million that should really facilitate those quick needs for those businesses, especially as the year starts.
The director of Kalume Foundation, Haj Major Abakar Kalume, has called on residents of Katikamu South constituency to diversify their sources of income to improve household incomes and combat poverty. Haji Abakar Kalume made this call during a distribution of 10,000 SASO checks to recipients from all the town councils and sub-counties within Katikamu South. The event was held at Bombo Senior Secondary School grounds in Bombo Town Council, Luweero District. The distribution is part of ongoing efforts to promote sustainable livelihoods in the region.
Ngenda zirunda zikule nzitunde nfunemu akasente neyambe ebizibu bye mbadde nabyo mu maaso. Omulimu gwonna gutandikako dda naye nina essanyu lingi okuba ti Mukulu Kalume ate ampadde neyongere okuba ti ntutumuka, kubanga bwe mba nina gye nkola bwe nnunda enkoko zino ne zikula nsobola okuggyako ne zirinnyamba okuweerera abaana bange.
Bino Muganda agamba akaliba akendo okalabira ku mukono. Mu kaseera kano nsaka ng'asakira constituency nga bw'olabye olunaku olwali tugabye enkoko 1,000, ate mu weeks 2 ezijja tujja kugenda magombola amalala mpaka buli muntu okuba ng'afunye enkoko. Njaga okukakasa kyekinfoosinga kubanga njagala kyenkola, tekuliiko yantuma, buno obutume kuva eri Mukama Katonda sijeekikira abantu ba Katikamu South constituency mu Parliament, ate nga bamaze okulabako kyatanagenda mu Parliament wakoledde ebifaanagano bwe biti, kati ate bw'anaagenda mu Parliament. Otebedde ng'okyali muto bw'oli kulaba kwerinde, bansuubire okukolera Katikamu South constituency okubajjako ennaku ey'emyaka 10 ebaddewo tibabadde nga abatalina bali mu kiyongobero, abalinga abatalina mubaka. Bansuubire okulaba basaries nga nzeogera, amasomero nga gazimbibwa, bansuubire okulaba ng'obuguudo bwe bayitamu obwafedda, enguudo ezafedda zikoleddwa, amalwaliro nga galimu eddagala, basuubire okulaba nga technical school abaana be basomera ku basaries ez'obwereere, basuubire okulaba nga amazzi n'ebyobulamu bitaddemu amaanyi, kubanga nga bw'olabye embikola ekyo kye balina okusuubira bana Katikamu South constituency.
Buli kimu kyabwereere okuva ku registration paka omwana wa graduating nga n'amala okusoma n'akuguka, tumuwa certificate ne tumuwa n'entandikwa. Mu long term projects era naffe mulimu ebyokulunda, omwana ayagala okulunda nga balinawo we balimira era tumukwasizaako, naffe ojja kwesanga nti enkoko nazo tuluza. Abaagala ebisolo ebirala ebyokulunda nabo ne balunda.
Sports news now, and the Real Stars Sports Monthly Awards for December has rewarded 3 athletes for their impressive displays. John Van Centamore reports.
Sports Monthly Awards for December has rewarded 3 athletes for their impressive displays. netball player Margaret Bagala, boxer Nuhu Bate, and football youngster James Bogere have been crowned the best athletes of December 2024 at the Fortbet Real Stars Sports Monthly Awards. The award ceremony was hosted at Lazio Restaurant in Kololo. Margaret Bagala was excellent for the She Cranes at the African Netball Cup, where she was named Best Middle Court Player.
Kyenduubirira ng'omuzannyi kubeera nga ngenda kuyambako okulaba ng'ensi yange ngiwanguzisa era n'ekirala ngenda making sure nti nzannya nnyo nsobole okubeera nga nfunayo accolade endala.
Nuhu Bate completed a stellar season during which he fought 5 times and won everything before him, including the Boxing Champions League finale that he added to his national open welterweight title.
Bwentuse olwaleero nekyebutegeeza eri kariya yange kiba kikulu nnyo kubanga mba nkikoleredde ate kiba kinyongeramu motivation.
Football prodigy James Bogere bettered all his colleagues after an impressive Sekafa regional qualifier during which he top scored with 7 goals and importantly scored Uganda's winner in the final against Tanzania.
To be the one being rewarded the award, and I'm very happy, but yes, the competition was there, but finally I got it, and I'm really happy to have it because this means a lot to me and to the family.
The Fortbet Real Stars Sports Monthly Awards have been in existence for over 6 years and have rewarded more than 300 athletes for excellence.
And that story brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for having kept us company. On sign language, it has been Senyomo Yusuf, and I am Rukidi Edward Kijanangoma, wishing you a blessed night.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Uganda will host the African Union Extraordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government from the 9th to the 11th January 2025 at the Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort and Convention Center. The summit will consider and adopt the new Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CADIP framework, and sign the Kampala Declaration to run for the next 10 years. The CADIP Kampala 2025 Summit will unite over 2,000 delegates, including government leaders, private sector and stakeholders, under the theme, Building Resilient Agri-Food Systems in Africa.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Did you know that our #1 value as a nation is to respect and protect the environment? With the current population increase of Uganda and industrialization, this has increased pressure on the natural resources, resulting into environmental degradation and global warming. Developing countries like Uganda could face 80% of the global climate change effects by the year 2030 if no action is taken. Join us here on UBC TV, Inspiring Uganda, on our Eco Plus program, where we bring you an in-depth analysis of issues that are disastrous to our environment. Every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. only on your loved station, the National Broadcaster.